And so this man sat down and read with her.
I'm sorry. If somebody rented a yacht for me to read a book.
Oh my gosh. And then it gets better.
Put the ring on the finger. Hi, how are you? And welcome to the Spoiler Alert podcast, where you will be caught up to the latest and the greatest. Today, I have my dearest, my day one of freshman year at college, Brianna. Yeah, you deserve an applause. Today we will be talking about a couple different things. We'll be talking about Black cinema just a little bit, some books, and some other things. So prepare your boots, buckle your belts, and all of the good things. So just for a little icebreaker, tell us some things about yourself, Miss Brianna.
I am a senior. My major is hearing, speech, and language science. I will be graduating this spring. I will be going to pursue my master's at Cleveland State University.
Wow, yeah. That's crazy.
And I'll be getting my master's in speech-language pathology. I am the president of the Epsilon Iota chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated here on campus. And I'm also the vice president of Ebony Minds. And that's about it. Oh, and I have a dog. Her name is Junie.
Junie Booty Butt. What are some things you are currently watching or have recently watched?
Because I'm kind of going through a funk as far as like trying to find things to watch. I always watch Survivor every year, so I'm watching Survivor.
One day I'll get into it.
Yeah, I'm still watching Survivor. I have been a long time watcher of like this show. It's called The Oval. It's on BT Plus, and then Modern Family. I think that's the last thing that I watched like full through was.
I don't think I never really got into Modern Family, but everybody loves that show, and I feel like I'd like it.
It was so good. Like, yeah, you would love it. It was literally so good. Like, it was a feel good show. And then I forgot. I watched this show like towards the beginning of this semester. It was called The Greenleafs, I think, or something like that.
Mama, do you love me at all?
If I thought your Uncle Mac did anything, you think he'd still be alive?
I'd be damned if I'm gonna let everything I worked all these years for slip through my fingers.
That was pretty crazy too. It's clearly a theme in my shows that I watch a lot of like dramas. It was about this church family. And I will say...
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I will say, as much as sometimes I don't necessarily like how like Christianity is portrayed in a lot of shows and things like that, I think that one was important. Like, it was, he had like a mega church and things like that. I feel like that one was important because, yes, it didn't show them in the best light as Christians, but like it showed the real life of like what can happen when money starts to tie into the church and things like that. Yeah,
it was really good. Didn't he have money trouble or something like that?
Yeah, it was doing really, really good. It was a lot.
I never finished. That was good. I didn't finish it though.
Yep, I finished that too. Yeah, I think I told you about this a little bit. I started watching Young Sheldon, and that was one of the shows that I didn't necessarily like how Christianity was portrayed. Like, it was like a big joke, and I didn't really like it. Yeah, I watched Body Cams. That's been like my newest fixation for like over like a year or something.
That is hilarious.
A lot of true crime, and then that true crime.
Y'all are crazy for watching true crime.
But this is the thing. Because of like the reality of certain situations and things like that, and just like my personal anxiety, the side of true crime that I've started to err on has literally nothing to do with murder most of the time at this point.
Y'all got it, because I've been watching stuff like Breaking Bad. I just started watching this show called, well, I wasn't really watching it. I kind of just turned it on, but it's called The Pit, and it's basically the same thing as Grey's Anatomy, but I think less romantic drama and more like real life drama and stuff. So I've been watching stuff like that. I've been watching this anime. It's called Samurai Champloo, but I call it Samurai Shampoo because that's the only way I can remember it. So I've been watching stuff like that. I can't do no true crime. I can't do no deaths. Like, even in Breaking Bad, there are deaths, but you know, it's TV, so like it doesn't feel the same. I know that you mentioned that you've been reading more than you've been watching TV. What are some books that you've been recently reading? I've seen a couple posts, but like I want to know what the tea is. Some good books.
So the first book that I read that actually got me out of my funk It was called Only for the Week by Natasha Bishop. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I literally started
like a
it.
Black lady.
It is.
I knew it.
So actually, I got on a kick of like reading books by Black authors. That book. Oh my gosh. Okay, so first of all, it's very spicy. That's
Okay.
It's.
I'm trying to stay away from books with spice. I can't.
That's
lie.
okay. That's okay. But it was very spicy.
Spoilers.
So basically, this one was about this girl. Her name is Janelle, and she goes on a trip because she's the maid of honor in this wedding. But the husband is her ex-boyfriend, and the wife is her sister. Yes, so that's literally like the synopsis of the book, but then it keeps going. And it basically describes how, like, in the synopsis, how everybody thought that, like, she was gonna be sad and, like, how she didn't want to go on this trip because she didn't want people to feel pity for her. But it switches to the guy's perspective, and there's this guy named Rome. Rome is the groom's best friend, so her ex-boyfriend's best friend. And the entire time that her and the Janelle and the ex-boyfriend were together, she thought Rome, like, didn't like her because every time that she would like be in a room or something like that, he would just like pretty much not acknowledge her. He would like make up an excuse to leave, and then he moved like midway through the relationship. So she doesn't really know, but like in his brain, the reason that is because he's a really good friend and he's always liked her. But he doesn't want, of course, like at this time, his best friend is dating her, so he's like, I would never do that. But now that he's about to marry the sister, and his brain is kind of like, all bets are off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's about them. They go on a trip, and basically, he just asks for a week. Like, he just asks for 1 week to, like, get her yeses, to, like, take the stress off her, because he's starting to realize, like, how much stress people put on her. And so those yeses do entail a lot of sexual activity, but furthermore, like, it's just like a lot of different like romantic things. Like he does like a gesture for her. She like is talking about how she wanted to read, like all she wanted to do was finish this book that she started, and she couldn't finish it. So this man rented her a yacht to read. And then
I'm sorry.
and then when they got on the yacht, she was like, oh, like, what are you gonna do? Like, and he was like, you need to stop worrying about other people, like, da-da-da-da. But he's like, since you're so worried about me, like, I'll read with you. And so this man sat down and read with her.
I'm sorry. If somebody rented a yacht for me to read a book.
Oh my gosh. And then it gets better.
Put the ring on the finger.
And then it gets better. And then, like, the week is over. And the reason that it was only a week is because they had a week with, like, the wedding party. And they felt like it would be easier to hide them, like, you know, messing around with just the wedding party versus, like, you know, all the family. Yeah. And basically the reason that she wanted it to be a secret is because she didn't want it to seem like she was trying to get vengeance. So yeah. So basically the way that the book ends is they end up getting married, and he ends up like taking her back to Tulum because he's like, I want to love you out loud. Like I want to like go back to where we started. It was very romantic.
Banana Boat protects your family in 7 conditions. So whether you're sweaty or sandy, at the ocean or pool, in the sun, wind or heat, Banana Boat, we've got you covered.
Okay, so you did kind of mention TikTok books because those books that you just mentioned you got from TikTok. But I have like a little question. Are there any things that you dislike or maybe even hate about the trending books that you see on TikTok? Or I guess in social media in general, or even YouTube, because I get a lot of my book recommendations from YouTube, from my booktubers. So I kind of talked about this in my last episode, but I feel like a lot of books that trend tend to have smut in it, and I feel like that's the reason they do trend. Yeah, I feel like the reason they do be trending is because of the spicy scenes and not always necessarily because of the book itself. Is there anything like that where you feel like, I don't know, something it can be worked on, I guess?
I wouldn't necessarily say. I would say when you get that genre, you find people who break these books up in a good way. When I was struggling and I was finding those things that I disliked about book talk, I just made it more specific for me. And even that, when I'm scrolling, I don't even really necessarily pay attention to much that I recommend unless it's somebody that I've like got recommendations from before, or like they're categorizing it in a way that I feel like would be like, you know, try to tailor what you like look at further than just like categorizing it as like a romance, because like most romances these days have smut in it.
And that's the problem I'm finding.
Exactly. So it's like categorizing it to like finding those romances that are not just young adult, but are still like friendly enough to be read and not just have to do smut.
Yeah. So. talked a little bit about black films and TV shows, but I just want to know your thoughts on black representation in cinema in general. When you think of black cinema as a whole, do you feel like we are getting accurate or fair depictions of us?
So I'll always go back to, and a lot of people kind of don't necessarily understand until I explain, but like most black girls, their favorite princess movie is The Princess and the Frog.
Right.
It's one of my least favorites. Yes, there's representation, but just like pretty much anything, there's still a lot of work to do, and there's still a lot of work that should have been done. And I feel like a lot of the things that we get is just like here. How we think about how pretty much all the princesses are white.
Right. Literally.
And even that, like we have Pocahontas, we have Mulan and things like that, but you have just Pocahontas, you have just Mulan, you have these people or these portrayals of things, and it's just like here. What I want people to realize is like in these conversations, what you have to kind of understand is this is bare minimum.
Yeah.
That's what people have to realize, and that's what people have to understand. While we can still appreciate art, we can still appreciate inclusivity and being represented on a bigger screen. You have to think of that whole other group of people that have had that forever, and they still get to complain when we get it one time.
I do think we're making strides. Like, I think Black Panther was a stride. I think Miles Morales, the Spider-Man, I think that was a way of making strides. So I think there's steps being made, but you know, not even just for us, not even just for the black community, but for really all people of color, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. It's 10 o'clock for the people who on the other side of the mic. So it's about time for me to hit the hay. But thank you for coming on my podcast. Yes, I always enjoy talking to my good old friends. Yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you tune into the next one. We of course will always have the best and the greatest content for you. And if you are tuning into the next ones, make sure you stay up to the latest. And that is all for tonight. Good night.
Good night.